Welcome to this YouTube Live on 7 steps to unlocking financial independence for you. I'm so glad that you joined me. I'm Kylie McKinney, owner and founder of True Prosperity Financial Coaching, where people are empowered to become financially free. Are you tired of feeling stuck on the paycheck to paycheck cycle? What if I told you there's a way out? What would it mean to you if you became financially stress-free and that disappeared from your life forever? Are you ready to discover the secrets that could transform your financial future starting today? And can you guess what the first step is to unlocking financial freedom? Spoiler alert, it's not what you think. So I want to thank you for joining me live on this YouTube Live, as I mentioned earlier. And what I would like to do, I would like to find out from you where you view me from. So if you would put, those who are watching me live, put in the chat what city you're viewing me from, so I can give a shout out to you. And if you're watching on the replay, leave me a comment below where you're viewing from on the recording. So if you're watching the recording, give me a shout out that way as well. So give you an opportunity to do that. Just share with me where you're viewing me from, and I'll give you a shout out there. All right. So and again, if you're watching on replay, all right, Detroit, Michigan. All right, Jermaine, thanks for joining me, Jermaine. I see you there. So if you're watching on a replay, again, leave me a comment below where you're viewing from, and I'll give you a shout out there as well. So I want to share with you my passion, my reasoning for helping people to win financially. What is my why? Why am I doing this? Well, it started 16 years ago when my wife and I married, and that was during the time, if you recall, of the Great Recession. That's when the economy was kind of going through some issues like it is now. And my wife has an education background, but when we married, she was not able to find work in her area, in her career. And so, that was fine with me. I was not, asking that she had to work, but she did not want to be a burden. I understood that. So we were the typical couple. We were living paycheck to paycheck, robbing Peter to pay Paul. We had maxed out credit cards. We had maxed out home economic credit that I had, taken out, that we were just over our heads in. We also had issues with, a loan that I took out through my job, through my retirement, and it was a pretty big loan, and we were scared. We didn't know when the next shoe was going to drop, and what would be the biggest burden was me going to work and my wife staying home, having to field all these bill collectors when they called. And when they call, they're not the nicest people in the world. As a matter of fact, if you can relate, just put in the chat, I can relate to what you're saying. So again, we had to do something. We wanted something better for ourselves. We didn't want to continue on this journey of being frustrated, not being able to sleep at night and all this. So we, in 2014, we decided to make a difference. We decided to come up with a plan where we can get out of the hole that we were in. So we began to live on a budget. We created a budget, lived on that budget. We began to, make a determination together to get out of debt. And that's where we started our journey toward financial freedom and towards getting out of debt and from striving to thriving. And in the process, in 32 months of us being consistent, in 32 months of us working together, we were able to pay off over $42,000 in debt. And on December 31st, 2016, I'll never forget that night. I called my wife into the office, and we pushed together the button on our last loan. And that night we became debt free and have been so ever since. And so that gave me the passion the next year, 2017, to start this business Again, True Prosperity Financial Coaching, where people are helped and empowered to become financially free. My wife was able that same year to finally land a job in her background of education, and she's going real good in that direction as well. So that's my story of why I'm doing and have the passion to help people to become financially free. Because if you think about it, we're living in a tumultuous time financially at the moment. A lot of things are going on. There's talk of recession. There's inflation. The stock market is going through its changes. So there's all kind of things that are going on, and people are scared. People are nervous. People are frustrated. People are angry of all the things that they're having to face financially. And when you look at it, 78% of Americans are now living paycheck to paycheck. That's over 3/4 of the population of America is now living paycheck to paycheck. 68% of Americans say at this point they could not even cover a $400 emergency if it were to happen. Many are facing delinquencies and paying off their credit cards, and delinquencies and paying off their car loans, mortgages, student loans. And so as a result, people again are going through all kind of changes financially. But again, that's why today I want to talk with you about 7 steps to unlocking your financial independence. Because there is hope. There is a light at the end of this tunnel. There is hope for all the financial turmoil that we're in, but it takes a plan. It takes steps. It takes a framework to get there. Now, this framework that I'll be talking about, the 7 steps, is a framework that my wife, Kimberly, and I learned from a guy named Dave Ramsey. He's a financial teacher, and this we found is a framework that works. It works for getting from striving to thriving. It works from getting rid of debt to building wealth and going beyond. And so these are the 7 steps that I want to share with you today. The thing is, these are steps that must be done incrementally. Not all at once, but step and not skipping a step, while you're in a particular step already. But if you want to get to your goals, if you want to become financially independent, it's important that we follow these steps, that we utilize these steps, and we consider these steps that will help to unlock your financial freedom. So, I want to go over that. And let me also say this too. These steps, consider these steps a house that must be built. But this house needs a foundation. So we're going to go over the foundation before we even get into the steps, because the foundation is very important. Because if the foundation is not secure, the first financial storm or the financial wind that comes against your finances will blow the whole thing down. So we want to make sure that we're covering the foundation, as far as making sure that we have that sturdy before we go through these steps. Let me incidentally say that later on, I will share an exclusive opportunity with you that can transform the way you approach your finances. So stay tuned for that as well. So when it comes to the foundation, what I'm talking about is the budget. Yes, a budget. That's the foundation that a person must have in place to win financially with their money. People who win with money do a budget. Now, let me say this. All a budget is just a cash plan for your money. It's you telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. A budget is you giving every one of your dollars a job. Now, there's many types of ways or many types of tools that people use or methods in budgeting that are out there. But the budget that I want to talk about and that I want you to consider is what's called the zero-based budget. The zero-based budget. That's where all of your income minus your expenses equals 0. And you're doing this budget each month before the month begins. So this is not a template one and done, because, different expenses come each month. You have different expenses a particular month that you didn't have the previous month. So you want to make sure that this budget is one that reflects the month that you're in, but you're doing this before the month begins. If you're married, you're doing it together because you want to be on the same page as you build your wealth, as you move forward financially. So the zero-based budget approach is what's to use. And let me also say this, many people, they get kind of frustrated or nervous or tense when we talk about budgeting because they think that it's restrictive. They think that you can't do anything, you can't go anywhere, you can't have anything. Well, that's the furthest thing from the truth. A budget does not restrict you. A budget actually frees you to spend money the way you want to spend it. So if you want to budget for a vacation, budget for a major purchase, you can do that. So all you're doing is giving your dollar a job, and it's you getting back in the driver's seat. It's you telling, again, your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. So again, when it comes to a budget, also consider the fact that when you do a budget, it brings about an organizational relief. It brings about communication if you're married. You're speaking together, you're talking together. And also it brings about a sense of empowerment. People who do a budget, they feel empowered because they're now back in control. They also, they feel, a sense of relief in the organization because they now know where all their money's going. And it's almost as if you're giving yourself a raise when you do a budget. Now, let me say this before I move on to the first step toward unlocking your financial independence. And that is with a budget, when you're budgeting, you want to make sure that these four things are paid for or are being budgeted for if nothing else gets paid for. If nothing else gets dealt with financially in your life, in a budget, you want to make sure these four things, I call them the four walls, are considered. Number one, food. Number two, rather, shelter. Number three, utilities. And number four, transportation. Before any other bills are paid, credit cards or loans or anything like that, make sure the four walls are considered in your budget: food, shelter, utilities, and transportation, because those are necessities. You got to eat. You got to have a place to stay. You got to have, you got to pay your utility bills to keep the lights on, and you have to make sure that you have transportation to get back and forth to work. So again, those four walls need to be considered in a budget. So again, before we start building, before we start moving into these steps, make sure you have a budget. Even when you're financially free, you're going to always do a budget. Millionaires still do a budget. So with that being said, let's now go into dive into the steps. What are the 7 steps that are necessary to unlock your financial independence? The first step I want you to consider is step number 1, and that is starting an emergency fund with $1,000 saved. $1,000 saved in a starter emergency fund. Now you might say, "What? Well, that doesn't make sense. I'm in debt. I have all this debt. I want to get out of my life. I want to pay all these bills off. Why would I start saving before I start paying off my debt?" Well, the reason is you want to have a cushion between you and life, because life happens. Life is unexpected. And a lot of things can happen to us financially that are unexpected. A flat tire, the air goes out, you need a part in your air conditioning, or maybe a quick trip to the ER. And what you don't want to have happen is you have to go back to credit cards or go deeper into debt because there's no money to pay for the emergency. So $1,000 saved in a starter, notice I said starter emergency fund, is necessary to protect you between yourself and life as you're getting out of debt, as you're moving forward financially. And this starter emergency fund of $1,000, of course, is one that you would put obviously in a savings account that's separate from your checking account. So you want to have that set aside and make sure that it's set aside for the emergencies and not commingled, because that way we won't make the mistake of using the money when we didn't intend to. So a starter emergency fund in a separate savings account. And you can use a brick and mortar bank if you already have one set. But I would encourage you to consider a high yield savings account that you would put that emergency fund into. Why do I say that? Because many brick and mortar banks, they only give an interest, that's gained on what's saved about 0.001%. Whereas right now in a high yield savings account, you're looking at an interest return of between 3.5 to 4.5% in interest earned on that money. And again, we're not talking about investing this money. This money is not being invested. It's strictly being set aside as sort of like a little insurance policy, if you will, against you and life when it happens. So you can go to Nerd Wallet, you can go to Bankrate and look at the various types of banks out there that are available, high yield savings accounts, where you're setting this account up where it's connected to your checking account so that you can have easy access to it. You want to make sure it's liquid, that you can gain easy access to it in case of an emergency. If you and to know when the emergency is, or when this we consider an emergency, consider 3 questions before you use this money in the emergency fund. Consider these 3 questions. Number 1, is it necessary? Number 2, is it urgent? And number 3, is it unexpected? Again, is it necessary? Number 2, is it urgent? And number 3, is it unexpected? If those 3 questions are answered yes, then that is a legitimate emergency. So again, having an emergency fund set up is step number 1 to building or to unlocking your financial independence. Just as a little testimonial, in our journey, Kim and I, we were starting off, and we were in step 1 phase of getting $1,000 saved. And in the middle of that step for us, on the same day in our house, both of our commodes in our bathrooms, 2-bathroom house, they both broke. They both were out of commission the same day. Now, that was just unheard of. But what we were able to do was call the plumbing company. They came out, they fixed it, and guess what? We had the money in the emergency fund to cover it. And it was so surreal. In the past, it would have been a crisis, but it was nothing now but an inconvenience. We had the money saved. So and we didn't have to go into debt. We didn't have to borrow. We have to, get a credit card to pay for it. We had the money there. So number 1, first step, a starter emergency fund is the first step toward unlocking your financial independence. The second step that you want to consider is, after you have an emergency fund of $1,000 built up, is to pay off all debt except the house using the debt snowball method. So after we have our emergency fund set up, we're now focusing on the debt, because debt is a thief. It steals from your past it steals from your future, rather, by making you pay for your past. And one thing about debt takes away options. It takes away our options. Debt tells us where we can go, where we can't go, what we can have, what we can't have, what we can buy, what we can't buy. And debt has a tendency to take over our table and sits at the head of our table, where it's time to change that. It's time to kick debt out from the head of our table and deal with it. So the thing about it is, we can wander into debt, but we can't wander out of it. We have to deal with debt and deal with it aggressively. So how do we do that? We do that by what's called using the debt snowball method. Now, the debt snowball method, what that is that you're taking all of your bills and paying off your bills from lowest balance to highest balance. Now, no, we're not doing this by interest rate. Now, I know that's kind of what's the word you use? I guess anathema or heresy. But again, what we're doing here is we're looking at quick wins. We're looking at quick wins. So we're paying off the debt with the debt snowball method from lowest debt to highest debt as far as balance. And what that would look like is, so you have all your debt laid out there. You take the lowest balance of your debts, and you're throwing everything you can at that lowest balance. Now, while you're doing that, you're still paying the minimums on all the other debts. So all the debts are being paid, but they're being paid at the minimum level, the minimum amounts, but you're throwing the maximum amount of all your money at this point toward that lowest debt. Once that lowest debt is paid off, then you take that amount and you throw it to the next highest debt and tackle that and get that out of the way. And again, you're doing it consistently. So when that second debt is paid off, then you take what was being paid in the first debt, second debt, and you're throwing that now to that third highest debt and throwing everything there to pay off that particular debt. Again, it's a snowball method. You're building momentum. Because the thing about it is, to win with money is 20% head knowledge, but it's 80% behavior. What we're wanting to do is change the behavior of how we deal with debt and how we deal with our finances. So again, these are quick wins. That's why we want to use the debt snowball method, not paying off from highest to lowest interest, but we're paying from the lowest to highest balance, one debt at a time, until we knock all of the debt out. When Kim and I started this process, we had all this debt that we were looking at. And if we just paid the minimum, it would have been like 8 years from 2014 that we would have had this debt paid off. So we're looking at 2022, 2023 from 2014. Well, by using this debt snowball method, where we were focused and we were intentional about getting this debt out of our lives and aggressive about getting it out of our lives, we were able to pay off this debt, like I mentioned earlier, in 32 months, 2016. So again, using the debt snowball method is very important in paying off the debt. I guess I want to mention again, don't forget that I will be sharing a bonus resource with you that will save you hours of research and fast track your journey toward financial independence. So don't miss out on that toward the end of this YouTube live. So again, debt step number 2, paying off debt. Accept the house using the debt snowball method. Now we're going to deal with the house a little bit later on in some steps further down. But again, all non mortgage debt is what we're looking at as far as paying off our debts. So the next step that we would take after baby step or step number 2 is now going back to that emergency fund. Remember I told you earlier we only had $1,000 saved in that start emergency fund. Well, now that you're out of debt, the next step after step 2 is step 3. Save 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. So 3 to 6 months of your expenses. So if your expenses are $5,000 a month, then you're taking 5,000 times 3, which gets you $15,000 that you're saving in that emergency fund that you've already set up, or 6 months, which is $30,000 that you're saving in this example that you're setting aside that's in that emergency fund. Now, this is important because now you're beginning to build momentum. You're now the debt's out of your life. Is you're past that, but you want to build your wealth. You want to build that cushion, I should say, that's going to keep you from life's surprises. And this will make sure that those big surprises that come are dealt with, and that they're more of a inconvenience than a crisis. What are those big surprises? It could be car breakdown. It could be a job loss. By having a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months, you will be able to handle those things as they come. Now the question is out there, which should I lean to? Should I lean more toward 3 months, or should I lean more toward 6 months? Well, here's a rule of thumb. If you're married and both members of the couple have pretty steady jobs, then you may want to lean toward saving 3 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. If you're single, or if you are working and you get paid based on commission, then you may want to lean toward this 6 month area or side as far as your emergency fund being saved. So again, basically, you're saving 3 to 6 months of your expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. Remember, now you're doing it hopefully in a high yield savings account that will give you the better bang for your buck as far as interest being added to that as well. So step number 3 to unlocking your financial independence is saving 3 to 6 months in a fully funded emergency fund. So now that we've done that, let's move on to step number 4. Step number 4, investing 15% of your household income in retirement. So now the first 3 steps, you're putting your foot to the metal, saving up a baby emergency fund, getting out of debt, and finishing out an emergency fund. But now you're able to start looking towards your future. Now you're able to start looking toward your retirement. Now I want to say this, as a rule of thumb, When you're in the first three steps of trying to unlock your financial freedom, I would recommend that if you're already, putting money towards your retirement, that you put a pause on it, a temporary pause on your retirement, contributing toward that until you get past step number three, because you want to make sure that all the money that you can garner is used to get rid of that debt, whether it be student loans or car loans or medical bills or credit cards, whatever those bills are. You want to get those out of our lives as quick as we can, as thorough and as aggressive as we can. So while the first three steps are being worked through, I would recommend, again, of course, you can do what you want to do. I'm not going to say you got to do this, but if I were in your shoes, I would put a pause on contributing toward your retirement until you get past step number three. But once you get past step number three and enter into step number four, where we're at, that's where you begin to invest 15% of your household expenses in retirement. 15% of your household expenses is now going towards your retirement. That's where you're really moving forward at a fast pace of aggressively contributing toward your retirement plan, toward your 401k. So a rule of thumb would be if you have a 401k through your job, is to of this 15%, invest up to the max. If your job has a match, I should say a match where they're contributing as you contribute, dollar for dollar, take advantage of that because that's free money. And you want to make sure that you're getting all the free money you can as it pertains to your retirement, because two things that are need to be on your side when investing for retirement: time and money. Time and money. So again, you're making sure that you are investing 15% of your household expenses in a 401k plan through your job, up to the match. And if once you reach that match, if you still have money left of that 15% to invest, consider opening up a Roth IRA. And basically, a Roth IRA is a tax-free and it's tax-free growth and gives you tax-free withdrawals as well when you retire. And you're investing in after-tax dollars. So the dollars that you're investing in a Roth IRA are tax-free. So invest into your Roth IRA. For this year, you can invest up to $7,000 annually. If you're over 50 years old, you can invest up to $8,000 annually. But again, invest into the Roth IRA. If you've then reached that capacity as far as contribution, then you would need to then go back to your 401k on your job and invest the rest of it up to the 15%. So you're maxing out at 15%. So you may say, well, how does that look? I mean, what do you mean by 15%? So let's say your income for your annual income on your job is $50,000 a year. Well, 15% of that is $7,500. So $7,500 annually is what you would need to be contributing toward your retirement if you are making $50,000 a year. Now, what that looks like monthly, $7,500 monthly, is divided by 12, $625. So at this point, you want to make sure that you're contributing, for this particular example, $625 toward your retirement monthly to make sure that you're meeting that 15% goal. Now, you say, why just 15%? Right now you want to have money set aside for retirement to contribute, but also you want to also have money for these other two steps. And I'm going to talk about also after this as well. So 15%. Now, as far as what to put the retirement in, what to contribute to as far as the retirement, what the mechanisms to invest in. You want to consider growth stock mutual funds, and you want to make sure that they're diversified. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And so when you're looking at growth stock mutual funds, there's growth mutual funds, there's growth and income, there's aggressive growth, and there's international. What I recommend is that you talk to a financial advisor who has a heart of a teacher, not a salesman, but a heart of a teacher that will walk you through that process. So again, and make sure that when you talk to them, that they are teaching you, because this is your money. You want to make sure that you have an understanding of what to do with your money. It's not their money, it's your money, and their job is to help you manage it well so that you can give yourself that future that you're looking for going down the road. So again, 15% into growth stock mutual funds. And there's EFTs out there as well, but make sure you talk to a financial advisor that has a heart of a teacher that can guide you through that moment in time. So again, step 4 is investing 15% of your household income in retirement. So once you've gotten past step 4, we now go to the next step. And that is step 5. Save for your children's college fund. Save for your children's college fund. We know student loans is one of the biggest crises right now this country is facing, with over $1 trillion out there in student loan debt. But what if there's a way that you could, circumvent that for your children or your grandchildren? So again, saving for your children's college fund. Now you're saying, well, why would I do this, before I, put forth money toward my retirement? I want to think about my children first. Well, consider this. It's guaranteed that you're going to retire. It's not guaranteed that your children will go to college. They may want to choose a different profession. They may want to go in a different direction. So making sure that you take care of yourself first. It's sort of like when you're on a plane and the safety rules are being given to you by the stewardess as the plane is taking off. They say that if the cabin pressure falls and the masks drop down, who did they say to put on first? Yourself, and then your neighbor. Because one thing about it, you don't want to be both passed out on the floor. So again, you want to make sure you're secure and then help your neighbor. So in this case, we're putting the investing for your retirement ahead of saving for your children's college fund, because you want to make sure that you have your safety net in place, or your nest egg in place, even if your children don't decide to go to college later on, or your grandchildren. So saving toward your children's college is step number 5. And basically, when it comes to that, there's 2 types of options for saving for college savings for your children. One is called the 529 plan, and the other is called the education savings account. So the 529 plan, and what the 529 plan is a tax advantage account that lets you set aside money for educational purposes and expenses. And if your child or grandchild decides to skip college, no problem. With the 529 plan, you can roll over any unused money into a Roth IRA for the plan's beneficiary. So again, a 529 is a tax advantage account that lets you set aside money for educational expenses for your child or your grandchild. The other mechanism is the education savings account, the ESA, and that is a trust or custodial account that lets you invest money to pay for someone else's education. Few important things about the ESA is there's a contribution limit of up to $2,000 per child per year, and whereas the 529 has no plan contribution, no limit, I should say, on the plan contribution there. So again, the college savings is what you're investing in by these 2 mechanisms for your children or your grandchildren. Also consider that you want to also look at your avenue of scholarships. So you have the 529, you have the ESA, but also scholarships. I would really encourage you to have that conversation with your children or grandchildren if they're in high school, or even if they're in college already, to consider scholarships. That's free money. There's millions of dollars, I should say, millions of dollars a year that go untouched in college scholarships that are out there for people to gain and acquire. So again, baby step 5 or step 5, saving for your children's college fund. Now, if you have no children, then you skip this step altogether. So you then go to the next step that I'll bring up, and that is step number 6. Step number 6 is paying off your home early. Remember, I talked about the fact that we were going to deal with the home later on. That when we're paying off debt initially, we were talking about the non-mortgage debt. Whereas with this particular step, now we're going back to the uh, house or the mortgage that we have, and we're paying that off as quick as we can and as fast as we can. And I want you to put in the chat uh, what what would it feel like to have a paid off home? I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts to have a paid off home? What would that feel like to you? What could you do with that maybe $1,500 that you were paying towards your mortgage, or what could you do with that $2,500 you were paying towards your mortgage, and now you don't have to use that for that anymore. You now have that at your disposal. What does that look like? What do you what are your dreams that are now coming true because you have this extra money now because you paid off your house. Think about it. When you pay off your house, it feels much different. The grass even feels much different under your feet than while you're paying off your mortgage. So, well, what just put in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, put in the comment section what that would feel like to have a paid off home, a paid off house, where now you have this money, you've paid off your debt, you have a fully funded emergency fund, you are investing, and now you have a home that's paid for. What could you do? What would that look like for you? Just put that in the chat section, or the comment section if you're watching the replay, and just tell me what that looks like for you. How are you feeling, and what does that open up? What opportunities does that open up for you? So again, baby step number 6, or step 6, is pay off your home early. Now, once we've done all this, now we're coming down to the last step, and that is once we have the debt paid off, once we have the emergency fund in place, once we're investing like we should, house is paid for, what are we doing now? The last step is building wealth, giving, and enjoying. Building wealth, giving, and enjoying. I want you to put in the chat. I want to know from you what would it feel like? What is financial independence for you? What does that look like? What are you able to do? Where are you able to go? What are you able to accomplish? You've now become wealthy. You've now become financially free. You've gone through the steps, and you've now reached your goal of financial independence. Just put in the chat what that looks like, or again in the comment section if you're watching the replay, just to just voice. And sometimes if you type it out and you see it typed out in front of you, it gives you a more of a why, more of a drive. What causes can you now fund? Who can you help? Who can you empower? Who can you give motivation to? Who can you become a testimonial to as far as becoming debt free and now living and giving? You lived like no one else while you were going through these steps. You lived like no one else when you were saving and while you were paying off the debt. People may have talked about you. They may think that you're crazy. Matter of fact, some people may even ask, well, why are you doing all that? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? But then when they see the results, those questions will turn from why are you doing this to how are you doing this? And you can give them an answer because you've gone through the steps. You're going through the steps now to make sure that you're, again, I keep saying this, moving from striving to thriving financially. And so that's what you want to consider. So, put that in there and just see yourself in that realm. Whatever you've typed, whatever you're typing, see yourself in that realm with that particular goal. So the 7 baby steps toward unlocking your financial independence. Again, number 1, the start emergency fund. Number 2, getting rid of debt using the debt snowball method. Number 3, finishing out that emergency fund with 3 to 6 months of your expenses saved. Number 4, contributing 15% of your household income toward retirement. Number 5, saving for your children's college fund. Number 6, paying off your home early. And number 7, building wealth, giving, and enjoying it. As I mentioned earlier, I do have a bonus um, a bonus resource I want to share with you, where you can invest in yourself and save yourself thousands of dollars by getting out of debt. And this is through the aspect of uh, in a online course that I have, which is called Getting Rid of Debt. And for $59, you can again invest in yourself by uh, understanding and knowing the different types of debts that's involved. This is be a part of the course. Part of this course will also give you knowledge on how to avoid the pitfalls of getting into debt. There's a workable framework of getting rid of debt through the debt snowball method. Matter of fact, you'll be able to go in this course in a deeper level, understanding what the debt snowball is and how to get out of debt using that particular method. You'll have interaction with me and feedback from me during this course. Also, this course is self-paced, so you can take your time and and go at your own speed and convenience. As far as going through the course to make sure that you're getting the understanding at your level and get at your pace. And also, this is lifetime access. You have lifetime access to this course as well. So you see there the link where you can click on the link and you can start and have access beginning today. Again, help you to win with money. If you're watching the replay, this link will be in the comment section below as well. And so you can go there to find out what that looks like and how you can actually gain your financial freedom quicker and faster as well. Also, I want to let you know that if you would like to have one-on-one consultation with me, where we can look at your particular needs, look at your particular concerns financially, we can set up that free online consultation. This is the link for the free online consultation. You can click on that or put that in your URL space, and you can have a free consultation with me where we can explore your concerns as far as where you are and what you'd like to have done with your finances, and I can come alongside to help. Or if you are ready, just want to jump on in to one-on-one coaching, this is the link where you can do that as well. And again, for those who are watching the replay, you'll find these same links also in the comment section in the video that you're watching today as well. So at this point, I want to open up for any questions. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, you can put it in the chat. I'll look through there and see if there's questions that I can answer for you. We've covered a lot of information today on this YouTube Live. And this is your opportunity to ask the questions, and I'll get the answer for you and give you direction on what we talked about today and how to become financially independent. And again, if you're watching the replay, you can also put the questions in the comment section in the replay, and I will definitely answer those questions for you there as well. Okay? I don't see any at the moment, but I do want to say thank you. Thank you for joining me today. And I want to ask this last question of you, and I want you to give me an answer if you put that in the comment section as well. And that is, what was your aha moment? What was your aha moment in this session today, in this YouTube Live? What aha moment stuck out to you that basically I said, okay, I get it now? Put that in the chat, or if you're watching my replay, put it in the comment section below as well. And let me just say this. Again, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Thank you for joining me on this YouTube Live. Subscribe to my channel. For those that are not subscribed, please go to my channel, True Prosperity Financial Coaching, and subscribe to the channel and click and click the notification button as well. So you're making sure that you get notifications of upcoming videos as well, where you can continue to receive content and value that will help you to thrive financially. I want to let you in on a little secret. This was my very first ever YouTube live that I did. Very first ever. So I want to thank you for being a part of a very historical moment for me with this business, and that is doing my very first YouTube live. There'll be others that I will do going forward, and so stay tuned for that. And again, my whole aspect is to make sure that you have the value that you need to have. So I pray that you receive value from our time together today. And I want to thank you for joining me. I bid you all Godspeed, all the best as you go forward to win with money. Thank you for joining me today. Again, be sure to click on the links that you have. Go to my website, True Prosperity Financial Coaching, to find out more information about that as well. And again, God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on this YouTube Live.